My name is Noah, and if there was ever a moment that burned itself into my memory, it was the day I learned I didn't matter, not to the people who should have valued me most. It wasn't some dramatic sit-down conversation. No, it came quietly, almost casually, when I stumbled upon a folder I wasn't meant to see. That afternoon, I was at my parents' house, the same house I had been helping them pay for over the past 5 years. The mortgage, the utilities, groceries, repairs. If something broke, I fixed it, or I paid someone who could. I wasn't just their son, I was their safety net. And all the while, my younger brother Caleb did nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean absolutely nothing. No job, no rent, no bills. He lived in that house like a permanent guest, lounging around while my parents defended him as just figuring things out. I told myself it wasn't my place to resent him, but deep down I did. That day, Dad had asked me to help him organize some paperwork. His desk was a disaster. Piles of bank statements, insurance notices, tax letters. I sorted through them carefully, because chaos makes me anxious. That's when I saw it. A folder. Thick. Neat. Labeled in bold black letters. Estate plan and last will and testament. At first, I told myself not to look. It wasn't my business. But curiosity has teeth, and it bit hard. After all, hadn't I earned the right to know? I'd kept a roof over their heads. Didn't I deserve to see what future I was working toward? I opened it. The words cut sharper than any knife. Everything, the house, the savings, the assets, even the old lake property, was going to Caleb. My name appeared only once, tucked into a line about loving both sons equally. That was it. Equal love, but unequal everything else. I sat there frozen, my hand trembling as I reread it again and again, hoping I had missed something. But the truth didn't change. My parents had erased me from their future. Dad walked back into the room, slippers shuffling, and saw the folder in my hands. His face drained of color. "Oh," he said flatly. "You found that." I held up the will, my voice calm but heavy. "Everything to Caleb? After everything I've done for you?" He sighed, as if I were a child throwing a tantrum. "It's not what you think." "It looks pretty damn clear," I snapped. "I paid your mortgage. I kept food in this house. Caleb does nothing. And you still decided he's the only one who matters." Dad looked away, muttered, "It's complicated." Complicated. That was his excuse. Mom walked in then, wiping her hands on a towel. When she saw the folder, guilt flickered across her face, but it didn't stop her from defending it. "Noah," she said gently, "you don't need the inheritance. You're independent. You're fine. Caleb struggles. We just want to make sure he's taken care of." The words hit harder than I expected. They weren't even denying it. They had decided long ago that Caleb would be their future, and I would be nothing more than their present convenience. I set the will down slowly, my jaw clenched. "Got it," I said, my voice eerily calm. "Glad to know where we stand." And then I walked out. Their protests followed me to the door, but I didn't turn back. For the first time in years, I wasn't their fixer. I wasn't their safety net. I was done. Silence has an odd rhythm. At first, it feels like relief, like I'd finally stopped carrying a weight nobody thanked me for. But after a few days, silence sharpens into something else, an accusation. Not because I miss them, but because I realized they didn't miss me. No calls, no check-ins, no "how are you?" Just quiet. It lasted exactly 12 days. On the 13th, my phone lit up with Dad's name. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Hey, Noah," he said, his tone clipped and businesslike. "Property taxes are due. Can you send the usual?" That was it. No small talk. No apology for the will. Just a demand. I almost laughed. "No." There was silence on the line. Heavy. Disbelieving. "What do you mean, no?" "I mean," I said slowly, "I'm not paying your bills anymore. The house belongs to Caleb in your will. He can handle it." Dad scoffed. "Don't be ridiculous. He's not responsible. You are." "Exactly," I said. "That's why you've used me all these years." "Not anymore." He muttered something under his breath and hung up. 5 minutes later, my phone buzzed again. This time, Mom. "Noah, please don't do this. Family takes care of each other. We sacrificed so much for you growing up." I stared at the screen until my jaw hurt from clenching. I typed back, "I didn't abandon you. You abandoned me when you wrote me out of your future. Caleb can take care of you now." That night, Caleb decided to weigh in. His text came at 11:43 p.m. "Bro, stop being dramatic. It's not a big deal. Just cover the bills like always." I could almost see his grin through the words. I typed back, "You're the golden child. You can handle it." Seconds later, "OMG, you're seriously mad about the will? Grow up. It's just money. Just money." Easy for him to say, when every cent of theirs and mine had been funneled into his bottomless pit of entitlement. I answered, "Perfect. Then you won't mind using that just money to pay the mortgage." This time, no reply. For once, Caleb had nothing to say. But Mom did. Another ping. "We're your parents. You can't just walk away. Stop acting selfish." Selfish. That word cut deeper than any insult. After years of late-night grocery runs, mortgage transfers, and fixing every leak in their lives, I was selfish for finally saying no. I placed the phone face down and stared at the ceiling until morning, when sunlight leaked through the blinds and turned everything a dull gray. That day, during my lunch break, I opened my banking app. Line by line, I deleted every recurring payment connected to their lives. Mortgage, utilities, internet, even the streaming accounts Caleb freeloaded on. Each cancellation felt like a lock clicking open inside me. When I was done, the list was empty. For the first time in years, my money was mine. My time was mine. And yet, staring at that blank screen, I realized I didn't know who I was without them needing me. That scared me. But it also thrilled me. Because maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something new. Sunday came faster than I expected. I told myself I didn't care, that I was only going to prove a point, but my hands still trembled as I buttoned my shirt. Family wounds don't heal in 7 days. They just scab over until someone rips them open again. The restaurant was one of those casual luxury spots downtown, all dim lighting and overpriced outrace. A place my parents couldn't afford without someone else footing the bill. And for years that someone had always been me. I walked in right on time. The hostess guided me to a long table near the back, tucked beneath golden pendant lights. There they were, Mom in her pearl earrings, Dad stiff in his too small blazer, Caleb leaning back with a glass of red wine like he was already the guest of honor. As soon as I approached, Caleb smirked. Well, well, look who decided family still matters. He raised his glass in mock salute. Don't get too excited, I said, sliding into the chair across from him. I'm not here to play along. I'm here to listen. Dad cleared his throat, his voice sharp with authority. We asked you here because this behavior has to stop. Cutting us off like that? It's selfish, Noah. You know we depend on you. I let out a humorless laugh. That's the problem. You depend on me, but you reward him. I jerked my chin toward Caleb. Caleb grinned wider, unfazed. Oh, come on, man. You're seriously still upset about the will? Grow up. It's just money. Just money. My voice cracked, heat rushing up my neck. I've paid your bills for years while you've sat around doing nothing. And they're giving everything to you. Tell me again how it's just money. Mom reached out, her voice trembling with practiced softness. Noah, sweetheart, you have a good job. You don't need the inheritance. Caleb, she glanced at him. He struggles. I pulled my hand back before she could touch me. He doesn't struggle. He coasts. And you enable it. For the first time, Caleb's smirk faltered. He leaned forward, his tone sharp now. You've always been jealous. Admit it. You hate that Mom and Dad love me more. The table went silent. Even Dad looked uncomfortable at Caleb's bluntness. I stared straight at my brother, my chest pounding. No. I hate that I gave everything and meant nothing. That's not jealousy, that's betrayal. The waiter appeared then, menus in hand, caught in the thick fog of tension. None of us reached for them. Dad exhaled hard, his patience thinning. You're blowing this out of proportion. You'll understand someday when you have kids of your own. Caleb needs the help more than you. I shook my head slowly. No. What I understand is that I was never a son to you. I was a wallet. I pushed the menu back toward the waiter, stood up, and straightened my jacket. Enjoy dinner. This one's on you. Mom's voice broke behind me. Noah, don't walk away. But I already had. When I left the restaurant that night, I swore I was done. But families have a way of pulling you back in, not with love, but with pressure, with shame, with appearances they want to maintain. 3 days later, I got another message from Caleb. This time, it wasn't a private jab. It was an invitation. Family dinner at our place this Friday. Don't be late. It's important. Our place. He meant my parents' house, of course. The same house I'd helped keep standing for years. I almost deleted the message without replying, but then another came through, this one from Mom. Please. Noah. We just want to clear the air. Your aunt and uncle will be there. Don't embarrass us. Embarrass them. That was always the fear, wasn't it? Not the truth, not the neglect, but appearances. Against my better judgment, I went. The dining room was crowded when I arrived. My aunt, my uncle, 2 cousins, even a neighbor who often dropped by uninvited. And of course, Caleb, holding court at the head of the table like he owned the place already. When I walked in, his smile widened, and I knew immediately this wasn't about reconciliation. This was a performance. Look who decided to grace us with his presence. Caleb announced loudly, clapping me on the shoulder hard enough to sting. Everybody, Give it up for the responsible brother. The one who used to pay all the bills. Laughter rippled around the table, awkward but present. My aunt chuckled politely. My uncle smirked. I felt my face flush hot. I pulled out a chair quietly, sat down, and kept my eyes on the plate in front of me. Caleb wasn't done. You know, he continued, raising his glass, we should all thank Noah. Without him, Mom and Dad wouldn't have had their mortgage paid, the lights kept on, the fridge stocked. He's basically been their personal accountant/butler. Isn't that right, bro? My cousin snickered. My uncle muttered, guess every family needs a workhorse. Mom cleared her throat sharply. That's enough, Caleb. But Caleb waved her off. No, let's be real. Noah's just mad because the will doesn't give him anything. Newsflash, bro. It's because you don't need anything. You're fine. Me? I need it. That's why I'm the heir. The room hummed with uncomfortable murmurs. Some nodded. Some avoided my eyes. I clenched my fists under the table, my nails digging into my palms until it hurt. Finally, I spoke. My voice was calm, but it cut through the chatter like glass. You think I'm mad about money? I said. Slowly, everyone turned toward me. I don't care about the money. I care that I gave everything I had to this family, and it still wasn't enough to matter. Silence. Caleb's smirk faltered. Just a little. I leaned forward, locking eyes with him. You can laugh. You can pretend this is a game. But one day, when the bills are yours, when the house is yours, when the mess is yours, don't look at me. Because I'm done cleaning up after you. I stood, chair scraping against the hardwood, and this time, no one tried to stop me. Not Mom. Not Dad. Not even Caleb. After that dinner, I didn't wait for another text, another guilt trip, another performance where I was cast as the ungrateful son. I went home, sat down at my desk, and made it official. Every single tie I had to their finances was severed. Mortgage auto-pay. Cancelled. Utilities. Removed from my account. Car insurance. Unlinked. Streaming services. Logged out. Passwords changed. It took less than an hour to erase years of sacrifice. And when it was done, the silence that followed felt like oxygen flooding my lungs. For a few days, I heard nothing. No calls. No messages. I thought maybe, finally, they understood I meant it. Then came the storm. The first message was from Dad. The bank called. Mortgage is overdue. Fix it. Fix it. Like I was a handyman, not a son. I ignored him. The second was from Mom. Noah, please. The lights will get cut off. Just a little help until we figure things out. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered her words at the restaurant. You don't need the inheritance. Caleb does. I ignored her too. Finally. Caleb. You think you're punishing me, but you're really just hurting Mom and Dad. You're pathetic. That one almost made me laugh. 4 years, I'd been carrying them all, and now that I'd stepped aside, suddenly I was the villain. By the end of the month, the cracks were showing. My aunt posted on Facebook about how sad it is when some children forget their parents. A not-so-subtle jab aimed squarely at me. Then, a neighbor texted me privately, "Hey, I saw your parents' house. Looks like the electricity's out. They okay?" I sat there staring at the screen, my chest tight. For so long, I had been the one to rush in, to fix everything before it collapsed. But this time, I stayed still. And sure enough, the collapse came. A week later, Mom called me sobbing. I let it go to voicemail, but her voice shook through the speaker. "Noah, please, the water's shut off. They're talking about foreclosure. We don't know what to do. Please. Honey, don't abandon us." I closed my eyes. That word again. Abandon. But I wasn't abandoning them. I was finally abandoning the role they forced me into. The provider, the fixer, the invisible son who paid but never mattered. 2 days later, I ran into Caleb by accident. I was leaving the grocery store when he pulled up in Dad's old truck. His hair was messy, his shirt wrinkled, but his smirk was still there, weaker now but clinging on. "Well, well," he said, stepping out. "Look who's still pretending he doesn't care." I didn't answer. He shoved his hands in his pockets. "You know they're drowning, right? You know they're going to lose the house." "Not my problem," I said flatly. His smirk twitched. "Wow. Cold. Guess money really is more important to you than family." That made me laugh, sharp and bitter. "Funny. That's exactly what they decided when they gave it all to you." For once, Caleb had no comeback. He just stood there, jaw tight, watching me walk away. That night, lying in bed, I realized something. I wasn't just cutting them off financially. I was cutting myself free. And maybe, for the first time in my life, that meant I could finally start living for me. It didn't take long for the fallout to land squarely where it belonged. 2 weeks after that run-in with Caleb, I got an envelope in the mail. Not at my parents' address. Mine. A copy of a foreclosure notice, probably sent to me by mistake since my name used to be tied to their accounts. For a second, I almost shredded it. But then curiosity took over, and I read, "Past due balance. Pending repossession. Court hearing scheduled." I couldn't stop the bitter smile creeping across my face. For once, it wasn't my problem to solve. That weekend, I heard through a cousin, because gossip always travels faster than truth, that my parents had finally handed everything over to Caleb. The bills, the mortgage, the mess. Apparently, Dad had stormed into the bank with Caleb by his side, declaring that the rightful heir would take over. My cousin said Caleb had looked pale, sweaty, like he was realizing in real time that inheritance wasn't just shiny cars and family property. It was debt, responsibility, deadlines. And without me in the background, there was no safety net. By midweek, Caleb texted me. No jokes this time. No smirks. Just raw panic. "Bro, I need your help. They're going to take the house. I don't know what to do." I stared at the screen, my chest tight. This was the moment, wasn't it? The moment I'd fantasized about for years. Caleb finally begging me instead of mocking me. The golden child brought down to earth. But instead of satisfaction, I felt tired. I typed back one line. "Figure it out. It's your turn now." And then I blocked his number. Days later, Mom left me a voicemail. Her voice was softer than I'd ever heard it. "Noah, we might lose everything. Your brother. He's trying, but he's not you. He's not reliable like you. Please, just come talk to us. Please." Her words were supposed to sound loving, but all I heard was desperation. Not for me. For what I could give. One night, I drove past the house. I didn't stop, didn't knock. I just sat in my car across the street. The porch light was off. The blinds were drawn. A foreclosure notice flapped on the front door, half torn from the wind. Through the window, I saw Caleb pacing, phone pressed to his ear, face twisted in anger. Mom sat slumped at the table, Dad staring into his drink. 4 years, that sight would have pulled me inside, had me fixing everything before it fell apart. But now, I turned the ignition and drove away. It hit me then, this was never about money. It was about value, about respect. And now that Caleb was drowning in the very responsibilities they dumped on me for years, I finally understood something. I wasn't the weak one. I was the only one who had ever kept this family afloat. And walking away hadn't made me selfish. It had made me free. The foreclosure notice spread through the family faster than wildfire. Within days, my phone lit up with messages from relatives I hadn't spoken to in months. Some were veiled accusations. How could you let this happen? Others were more direct. Your parents are losing their home and you're just sitting there? They all framed it the same way. I was the villain, the cold son who turned his back. No one asked about the years I carried them. No one asked about the will. They only cared about the story Caleb and my parents were feeding them. And soon, I found out exactly what that story was. It was a Sunday when my aunt invited me to a family gathering. She said it was just a barbecue, nothing serious. Against my better judgment, I went. Part of me still hoping anyone, would finally hear my side. When I arrived, the smell of grilled meat filled the air. Kids ran in the yard, cousins chatted, uncles drank beer from red cups. It almost felt normal, until I noticed Caleb standing near the patio, surrounded by a small crowd. He was talking loudly, gesturing with his drink, his voice carrying across the lawn. "Yeah, it's true," he said dramatically. "The house is going under. But what can I do? I've been left with all the responsibility." Meanwhile, Noah, he jabbed a thumb in my direction, just abandoned Mom and Dad. Walked away. Doesn't care if they end up on the street. Heads turned. Conversations quieted. Suddenly, all eyes were on me. My stomach clenched. 4 years, I would have frozen. Let him control the narrative. Swallow the shame. But not this time. I stepped forward, my voice steady. "Funny. Caleb, you forgot a few details. Like how I paid that mortgage for years. Or how I covered the bills, bought the groceries, and kept the lights on while I locked eyes with him, played video games in your pajamas." A ripple of murmurs ran through the crowd. Caleb's smirk faltered. "And you also forgot to mention," I continued, pulling my phone from my pocket, "that Mom and Dad left me nothing in the will." "Nothing? Every cent, every property, every asset? All yours?" Gasped. Eyes widened. People shifted uncomfortably. My aunt covered her mouth with her hand. I turned slowly, letting my gaze sweep the crowd. "So if the house is going under now, if the bills are piling up, if Mom and Dad are struggling, it's not because I walked away. It's because Caleb finally has to live in the real world. And for once, I'm not cleaning up his mess." Silence. Thick and heavy. Caleb's face burned red. He sputtered, You're twisting it. You're just bitter. You're jealous. Jealous." I let out a bitter laugh. "Of what? Inheriting debt? Being the golden child who gets praised while doing nothing? If that's what jealousy looks like, you can keep it. No one rushed to back him up. Not this time. Not with the truth laid bare. I set my cup down on the patio railing, my hands steady. I'm done. With the lies. With the guilt. With pretending this family ever valued me. And then, for the second time in as many weeks, I walked away from a family gathering. But this time, it didn't feel like running. It felt like taking back my life. I thought that after exposing the truth at the barbecue, they would finally leave me alone. I thought the silence that followed meant they had given up. I was wrong. 3 days later, there was a knock at my apartment door. Not a polite knock. A pounding, sharp and insistent. When I opened it, Mom and Dad stood there. Mom's eyes were swollen like she'd been crying. Dad's face was stone. And behind them, leaning against the hallway wall with his arms crossed, was Caleb. "We need to talk," Dad said flatly. I didn't move. "There's nothing left to say." Mom's voice broke. "Noah, please. We're losing everything. The bank won't stop calling. Your brother can't handle it alone. You have to step in." I laughed, bitter and sharp. Of course. When Caleb can't do it, suddenly I'm needed again. Not as a son. As a wallet. Caleb pushed off the wall, smirking despite the tension. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be, bro. Just cover the bills like you always did. You're good at it." Something inside me snapped. I stepped closer, my voice low and steady. "Do you even hear yourself? You think I was good at being used? You think that's all I'm worth?" Dad's jaw tightened. "Stop being dramatic. We didn't come here to fight. We came here because we're out of options. The house will be gone in 30 days unless we get help." "Then let it go," I said coldly. "Maybe it's time you learn to live without someone propping you up." Mom gasped, covering her mouth. "Noah, how can you say that? We're your family." I met her eyes, the same eyes that once glowed with pride when I fixed the sink at 2 a.m., or when I paid off their overdue bills in silence. "No, Mom. Family doesn't erase you from their lives while keeping your bank account on speed dial. Family doesn't call you selfish for finally saying no." Caleb scoffed. "You love playing the victim, huh? Face it, you're jealous. Always have been." I turned to him, my voice sharp as glass. "You know what, Caleb? You're right. I am jealous. Jealous that you got to be useless and still adored. Jealous that no matter what I gave, it was never enough. But guess what? That jealousy's gone now. Because I finally see you for what you are. A parasite." For the first time, his smirk cracked. His face flushed, his mouth opened to retort, but no words came. I stepped back, hand on the door. "This conversation is over. Don't come here again." Mom's tears spilled as she whispered, "Noah, if you walk away now, we may never forgive you." I swallowed hard, my throat dry. "Then don't. Because I've already forgiven myself." And with that, I closed the door. The foreclosure went through faster than anyone expected. One morning, while sipping coffee by my window, I scrolled through social media and saw it. Not from my parents, of course, but from a neighbor who couldn't resist posting. A bright red notice taped across the front door of my childhood home. "Foreclosed. Property repossessed." The caption read, "Sad day for the Johnsons. Can't believe they lost the house. I stared at the photo, my chest tightening. Not with guilt, though I half expected it, but with something closer to grief. Not for the house. Not even for them. For the years I had wasted keeping it all afloat, thinking it meant love. By evening, the phone calls started again. First Mom, then Dad, then Caleb. Each one went to voicemail. I couldn't bring myself to answer. But I listened. Dad's voice was sharp, almost accusing. This is your fault, Noah. You could have stopped this. One transfer, and the house would still be ours. Mom's voice came next, softer, desperate. We don't have anywhere to go. Your brother. He's trying, but he can't keep up. Please. Honey. We need you. And then Caleb, spitting venom. I hope you're happy. You ruined everything. You destroyed this family. I set the phone down and let their words echo in the silence of my apartment. A year ago, even 6 months ago, I would have broken at the sound of Mom's tears, Dad's anger, Caleb's blame. I would have driven over, fixed it, saved them again. But not now. Not anymore. A week later, I ran into them by accident at the grocery store. They looked different. Older. Worn. Mom's makeup was smudged, her hair unkempt. Dad's blazer hung loose on his frame, his eyes bloodshot. And Caleb, he wasn't smirking anymore. He looked hollow, dark circles carved under his eyes. They spotted me near the produce aisle. For a moment, no one moved. Then Mom stepped forward, clutching her purse. Noah, her voice cracked, we lost everything. The house. The savings. It's all gone. I nodded once. I know. Dad's jaw worked like he wanted to lash out, but nothing came. Caleb just stared at me, lips pressed tight. Finally, Mom whispered, "What are we supposed to do now?" I swallowed, the weight of her question pressing down. Part of me wanted to answer, to offer a solution out of old habit. But another part of me, the part that had carried them for years, knew the truth. "You'll figure it out," I said softly. "Just like you told me to when I was on my own." Her eyes filled with tears. Caleb muttered something under his breath, but I didn't catch it. I didn't need to. I pushed my cart past them and walked away, heart pounding but steady. That night, lying in bed, I realized something. They had finally faced the consequences of their choices. The pedestal they had built under Caleb had crumbled. And for once, it wasn't me holding it up. For the first time, the golden child had to live without gold. And me. For the first time, I was living without chains. The night after running into them at the grocery store, I sat alone on my balcony, staring out at the city lights. For years, I had imagined this moment, what it would feel like to finally be free of the weight my family had piled on my shoulders. But freedom wasn't loud. It didn't come with fireworks or applause. It was quiet, a deep, steady quiet that felt like breathing after holding my lungs shut for too long. Weeks passed, and word spread through the family tree. Some cousins called to say they understood my side now. Others sent cold texts about abandoning blood. I didn't bother correcting them. Let them believe what they wanted. The truth was simple. I hadn't abandoned anyone. I had chosen myself. One evening, my aunt reached out. She said Mom and Dad were staying with her temporarily, that Caleb was looking for work, but mostly sulking. She asked if I'd consider just talking to them, maybe helping a little, just until things settle. I answered with the calmest no I had ever typed in my life. Then something strange happened. Without their bills draining my paycheck, I started to live. I signed up for a gym membership. I upgraded my old laptop. I even booked a weekend trip to the coast, something I hadn't done in years because there was always another emergency at their house. For the first time, my money went toward building a life instead of patching theirs. And with every small choice, I felt lighter. One night, I got a message from an unknown number. No name attached. Just 4 words. "We're proud of you." I stared at it for a long time, wondering if it was real or just a cruel trick. In the end, I deleted it, because I didn't need their pride anymore. I had my own. People always ask what it's like when the golden child finally loses their shine. But the real story isn't about them. It's about the forgotten child, the one left with nothing, who finally realizes that nothing can actually mean freedom. I used to think being cut out of the will meant I had no future. Now I see it for what it was, a gift in disguise. Because the truth is, they gave my brother the house, the savings, the burden. And they gave me something far more valuable, myself.